Pre-game frog walk at Amon G. Carter's in Fort Worth. A big non-conference game between Cal and TCU. You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. Pac-12 and Big meet on a steamy Saturday in Fort Worth, where the Horned Frog faithful think this could be a special year. Gary Patterson, 21 seasons at the helm. He's very excited about the roster, and particularly about this quarterback, Max Duggan, one of the best he's had in more than 2 decades in Fort Worth. On the other side, Justin Wilcox and Cal coming off a season-opening loss to Nevada and trying to recover on the road once again. Good afternoon, everyone. Evan Brown, former Georgia quarterback Hudson Mason, delighted to be with you. The last time these two teams met, you know it well, the infamous Cheez-It Bowl of 2018, won 10-7 in overtime in a game that featured 9 interceptions by TCU. I think Hudson defense is going to be a little bit more at the table today.
Yeah, let's hope so, at least. Not as many more touchdown passes. I think we're going to get it today because we're going to see 2 great quarterbacks. And it's TCU's Max Duggan. I think he's the best running quarterback in the entire Big 12. 10 rushing touchdowns last year, which led all quarterbacks in the conference. For most quarterbacks, when they get flushed out of the pocket, the play's over. For Max, the play's just beginning. And on the other side of the ball, it's 4-year for Cal, Chase Garbers. 38 attempts last week against Nevada, but for only 177 yards. And as offensive coordinator Bill Musgrave put it, that's too many bunts. We got to create more home runs in the game, so look for that today. Explosiveness through the air for them to have a shot at beating TCU.
And Cal will start with the ball. And as we said, a steamy day in Fort Worth, Texas, and a day that's only going to get hotter as it goes along. 91 degrees, a little bit of humidity, slight breeze at kick. Gary Patterson told us last week it was a 7 o'clock kick, and he lost 11 pounds during the game. So he's going to potentially shed a few more as TCU looks to go 2-0. The Horned Frogs right now 1 spot out of the top 25 in the receiving votes category. And they will start defensively with Cal at its own 25, led by the 4-year starting quarterback, Chase Garbers. He played in that Cheez-It Bowl 3 years ago, threw 3 interceptions and was replaced after a half. And there's been a lot of Chase Garbers' career, Hudson, but last week not one of his finest games.
No, it wasn't, and I think it's just more consistency in the passing game, and specifically on 3rd down. You're going to see a lot of pro-style systems today from Bill Musgrave, who has spent a lot of time in the NFL.
Golden Bears 1-3 as CFO in the shortened 2020 year. And the running back Damian Moore will take on a 1st down and pick up very little, only a yard for Moore for a team that did come out of the gate strong against Nevada. 2 long touchdown drives, established the run early, and then seemed to go away from it late in a 5-point loss.
Yeah, and they find a lot of success early in the downs. They'll use a bunch of different tight ends.
A flag thrown here, right as Garp trying to exchange it to Moore. And we'll hear it from Michael Vanderveld, our referee.
Snap, false start, number 16, offense, 5-yard penalty, still 2nd down.
That's Colin Moore, one of those many things to play for Cal to set up 2nd and 13. Golden Bears a season ago, their only win came against Oregon, the Pac-12 champs. Pac-12 announced the football would be canceled, brought it back late, and then Cal lost 3 games due to COVID-19 reasons, so played just 4. A handoff on a 2nd down, Moore sheds it to field and picks up something out of nothing. Damian plunging ahead. Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, the All-American corner, made the play, and a gain of about it.
And this is a place really where last week Cal struggled. You look at their and divvy them off. The first 2 drives in which they scored, they were 4 for 4 on 3rd down. The rest of the day, they were only for 10, especially in 3rd and medium like you are here, 3rd and 5. They were heavy pack if they go back to the right arm of their veteran quarterback, Chase Garbers.
Passed it on every 3rd down a week ago. Remigio, the motion man, his top target in the slot left. Garber's looking his way, and underneath, Remigio's able to haul it
On the
in.
field is a completed pass. First down, California.
Needed 5, he got 5.
Yeah, getting your quarterback at the line of scrimmage. They get into an empty set, and Garber sees the middle of the field right there wide open. He's going to find his slot receiver, Remigio, lined up on a linebacker for TCU for a first down.
D. Winters on a stop. Garber's looking long. A home run ball on first step. And it is reeled in inside the 20-yard line. Keiko Crawford on a play. We didn't see Cal hit any of those a week ago. And this one over the All-American Tomlinson.
There was an emphasis on it all last week, and I got to tell you, I am shocked to see them go with the All-American Hodges Tomlinson here early in the game. But that's the home run ball that they were talking. They got to create more of.
Gain of 49 yards. Down at TCU 16. And a whistle at the snap.
Prior to the snap, previous play of a completed pass is under review.
All right, Gene Semko, our replay official, will take a look and see if Crawford controlled the ball here. 54-yard catch. We'll see if it stands or not as this play goes to review.
Yeah, that is not going to be a catch, Kevin. Obviously, no control through the catch. A lot of times you'll see here what the referees are looking for is did the ground cause the incompletion, but I don't think Crawford really ever had full control of football all the way through the catch, which is the key.
Well, this is as sizable a moment as could be for Cal early. 1 week after they just didn't get anything down the field against Nevada. Justin Wilcox said the plays were there. We just have to make them. Let's get one more look at this catch or no catch by Crawford.
And I mean, I think you're looking again for complete control through the catch, and as Crawford hits the ground, the ball starts to kind of come out of his arms. You see this so many times of did the ground the incompletion. I just think what the referees are probably looking at here is did he maintain total control through the catch? I don't think he did.
Well, remember,
takes a couple of steps.
It is a catch, so you do have to have enough evidence to overturn that conclusively.
Right. See, he gets, 2, 3 steps down. And as soon as his back hits the ground, the ball starts to come out. What's interesting is I think if Crawford...
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands is called first down, California.
So not enough to overturn, and the big play does stand for Cal. And again, one of those plays that might be, in our experience with replay, likely to stand no matter what. So to have controlled it through the ground, or at least enough not to overturn, and Cal does hit pay dirt down to the 16 of TCU. Back is Damian Moore on this first down. Instead, it's a give to Remigio, the wide receiver, who is chased downs. Donovan Collins came from behind. TJ Carter cleaned it up after a gain.
Yeah, this was an area last week where Cal was heavy run inside the red zone, really 64 in favor of running the football, and it really favors their strength, the offensive line in the run game. It's really an area, too, where you could see the quarterback legs of Chase Garber get utilized to their advantage.
Garber is one of the best quarterbacks in Cal history, has run for 7 scores in his career. He'll hand it off here. This is Christopher Brooks. Stood up after 2. Remember last week, Cal got off to a tremendous start. They scored on the first drive, went down the field 63 yards, then scored on the next one. The rest of the game not great, but they got off on the right foot. It's Nevada.
It really was the third downs. I mean, a lot of times that is the indicator of can you stay on the field offensively or can you not. They were 2 for 10 outside of that first quarter on third down.
Need to get to the TCU 6. Garbers to throw it. Swings it out to Brooks, and he's not going to get there. Travius Hodges-Tomlinson this time made the play. 4th and short. What do you do now on the opening drive?
Yeah, well, you got to kick the field goal here and take the points. But interesting play call early on. Musgrave, once you got inside the red zone. A reverse, a run up the middle, and basically put your running back out in the flat. Didn't really try to press the ball intermediately into the red zone. No, and they're keeping the quarterback on the field. Looks like they're going to go for it.
You're surprised by this?
Yeah, I am. I am surprised by this. I think early on the road, you take the points.
3 tight ends, play clock at 2. It'll be a handoff. Needed to get to the 6-yard line, and Wyatt Harris made the stop. And we'll wait for the official marking. Kendrick Van Zant was in there as well. TCU thinks they've stood up. The running back was Brooks. And I think Michael Vanderbilt's going to call for a measurement.
Yeah, this is uber confidence in thinking that your guys up front are better than the front 4 of TCU. And on that play, at least it looks like that Van Zant, who's really at the safety position, is able to squeeze in there and keep it from being a first down. It's really Wyatt Harris, that linebacker, who was able to make the tackle.
Fate is in the hands of the chain gang here, and they're going to be well short. TCU holds up, and the Horned Frogs will take over at their own 6 after a 4th down stop on opening possession.
Huge stop for TCU defensively after giving up the chunk play on the post route over the top. Cal had 4 opportunities inside the 10-yard line and was unable to really get the ball even in terms of attempt into the goal line. I think that's some pretty conservative play calling there by Cal offensively.
So Max Duggan will start for TCU for the 21st time in the last 22 games. 43 total touchdowns in his career. One of the great quarterbacks in the country. Zach Evans is running back on a first down. Evans, the highest rated recruit in TCU history, with the flag thrown in the middle of the play. Evan Tattersall made the stop for Cal.
Personal foul, face mask number 54. Defense, 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. Automatic, first down.
And Tattersall, who made the stop, gets knocked for 15.
Yeah, it's a big penalty right there. Give TCU's offense a little bit more breathing. Obviously, one of the thoughts to go for it on 4th down is if you don't get it, from Cal's perspective, is you've got them backed up. But there with the flag, TCU catches a pretty big break.
So the ball quickly out to the 20. There's that play, that's 23 yards, and Duggan keeps it. Good pickup. 5 yards for Duggan on first down. Daniel Scott tripped him up. What do you expect to see, Hudson, out of this TCU offense?
Well, quite a bit of that right there, the legs of Max Duggan. I think he's the best running quarterback in the entire Big 12. And Doug Meacham, the offensive coordinator, who was once at TCU a couple years, really knows and has a great feel for how to utilize his quarterback strength. Only 2 carries last week for Max Duggan. I think we're going to see way more of that this week.
It's a breezy 45 over Duquesne. Option play here. And a nice open field tackle. Darius Devis got a couple of tackles early for Daniel Scott, the redshirt senior safety.
Yeah, I think you're going to see these safeties for Cal up at the line of scrimmage with their eyes in the backfield. This is what TCU loves to do. Motions, jet sweeps. They're going to try to keep your eyes looking in the backfield, and they'll get the ball to the perimeter. Key on play that your eyes are in the right place. Good tackle by Daniel Scott.
3rd and 5 for Duggan. Pressure picked up. Duggan had nowhere to throw. He'll take off. And Duggan is down at the 39. He's awfully close. Needed to get to the 39. He does. Enough first down, TCU.
And this is what makes him so hard to defend. You've got the play covered. Cal does a nice job in coverage of having every guy accounted for. But up front, they lose integrity in some of their pass rushing lanes. And Doug Meacham has been preaching to his quarterback of nothing's open, step up in the pocket instead of stepping out and escaping out. That time he does that and finds room to get the first down.
3rd most experienced quarterback in the Big 12, Duggan. Iowa State's Brock Purdy, K-State's Skylar Thompson, the only ones who play more. And Duggan will go deep. He's got a receiver and he overthrew him. It's their big play threat, Quentin Johnston. Step on Colin Gamble, but Duggan's throw a little long.
Yeah, and they love Quentin Johnston out wide. The sophomore who averaged over 20 yards per catch last year. He's just really, really explosive. There, he's got his guy beat by a step. Just the inaccurate throw right there from the quarterback. You never want to, it's the cardinal sin as a quarterback on a deep ball. You never want to overthrow a big body receiver like that.
Evans on a second out, hit immediately. And a very small gain, if anything. Scott lost his helmet on the play again. A week after leading the Bears in solo tackles, Daniel Scott has 3 tackles on the opening drive.
Well, and this is the game within the game right here is tempo and spacing for TCU. They are notorious for going fast. They'll keep their personnel on the field. Don't have a chance defensively to sub and get your packages in there that you want.
On a 3rd and 7, hoisted, and it was nearly intercepted. Patterson got his hands on the ball. There is a flag down.
After the play is over, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 55 of the offense. 15-yard penalty will be enforced. The down counts. 4th down. That is number 55's first unsportsmanlike conduct foul for the game.
Obina Eze right there.
And that's going to get called every single time. And you guys on the ground, you just can't lower your helmet and go after them. But a nice stop there by Cal's defense after giving up the 15-yard penalty on the first play. That kind of allowed TCU to get a little more breathing room toward midfield.
Sandy to kick it away. Nico Remigio, very good returner. And he'll call a fair catch on 32. 45-yard punt. Cal's second drive on offense when we return. The last and only time TCU Cal ever met on the gridiron. The 2018 Cheez-It Bowl, or as it was dubbed by everyone on social media, the Cheez-Int Bowl. That's INT. 3 of the 9 interceptions in the game, which featured too much weird stuff to put 1 or 2 or 3 games worth of information. TCU won 10-7 in overtime, and we asked Gary Patterson and Justin Wilcox what they remembered. They've tried to forget it. Nobody really wanted to bring up the Cheez-It Bowl of 3 years ago. As Garbers goes long on this first play, another big shot. This is incomplete. There's a flag. And with tight coverage, TCU may be in trouble here with Caesar.
Pass interference, number 9. Defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
And they're going to throw the PI penalty, and it's the right call. Caesar never tries to make a play on the ball. You see here, he never turns his eyes. But at the last second, he does. Actually, worse than what it did from the TV monitor. At last second, he does show that he tries to turn his eyes and play on the ball. But I think that contact just a little too grabby right before the ball land in the receiver's hands. There's the second shot, though. Second attempt here early on by Cal's offense. Can drive.
Moves the ball up to their own 40. And the backfield, this is more. It's nothing. Would have been happy to get nothing. Loses a couple of yards on the stop from D. Winters. I want to go back to that last shot, though. We saw Cal time and again fail to hit the deep ball against Nevada. Are you surprised they've already sentenced twice today?
I'm not. I think talking to the coaches and talking to Bill Musgrave this week, he understood that they had to find a way to cut some of these long possessions in half. It's great to get 12, 13, 14 plays like they did last week versus Nevada, but you can't count on those long drives every single time.
Justin Wilcox told us the plays were there. The veterans need to play like veterans. Garbers will pitch it on a second down to Moore. And this will be a long coming up as Moore is swallowed up. And we look at the offensive coordinator, Bill Musgrave, a familiar name to football fans, not necessarily college football fans. Hudson, 8 teams, 13 seasons as an OC in the NFL.
Yeah, brings a lot of that West Coast drop game that has been so popular throughout the NFL here to Cal. And you see it in the way he utilizes a lot of different tight ends. Here on this down, only one tight end, Jake is in right there in the slot.
Garbers delivers another deep ball. Receivers open. Caught for a touchdown. Trayvon Clark was able to shake free of Caesar. And the senior out of Victorville, California, puts the Bears on board.
Yeah, the Cal coaches watched the tape, obviously, from last week, seeing that C.J. gave up 2 deep balls against Duquesne. And Chase Garber finds the one-on-one up and drops it right in the breadbasket of Trayvon Clark for a touchdown.
54 yards on the third down strike. And Trayvon Clark, the senior, with his 3rd career touchdown on his 30th career catch. Snap on the extra point. And this is an incomplete pass. The holder, Sheehan, Slater Zellers, the long snapper.
Going on the field is an incomplete forward pass. A 2-point try.
So not 7, but 6 for Cal. The longest catch in the career of the senior, Trayvon Clark. And California on the road, Fort Worth with the first points. Two for 3 on third downs to start. A 54-yard touchdown strike. Chase Garbers and Trayvon at their point, but so did the right tackle here, Hudson.
Yeah, everybody at home is probably watching the great throw on the deep ball here by Garbers, but right tackle Valentino Del Toso saves the day right here by coming off of his block at the last second and throwing his body out there, which just spares enough time for Chase Garbers to get the ball down the field. And I'm telling you, it really does make a big difference when a quarterback can or when he can't step into his throws. And there, Garbers was able to generate enough umph field ultimately for a touchdown because Valentino at right tackle makes an incredible block.
Your right tackle clearing the way for a senior quarterback to hit a senior receiver. J.D. Spiel, Nebraska transfer from deep out of the end zone. And mistakes were made. Spielman doesn't even back to the 20. Well, big game for the Pac-12 tonight on ABC in the Big House. Washington coming off a shocking season opening loss to Montana. Faces on Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. Big win for Michigan over Western Michigan. Its first time. You can always watch it as well on the ESPN app. All ready for Pac-12 teams at Big Ten teams. One heck of a day. Michigan is 13 seconds away from a road win at Ohio State, up 7. Buckeyes have a long way to go in that one. This pass dropped by Carter Ware. That was a forward pass, no cat, and an incompletion on 1st and 10. So Duggan, an 0 for 3 start for TCU. That one's certainly not his fault, but the question with Duggan this year has been, can he improve his accuracy? Last season, 61%, 53% his first year as a full-time starter. Evans to the outside, and Evans gets a gain of 3, loses the helmet. Elijah Hicks on the stop, and another 3rd and long up for Duggan and the Frogs.
Yeah, TCU doing a really good, Cal defensively right now doing a really good job of kind of forcing everything for Zach Evans to bounce outside. And when a running back has to kind of get north and then redirect, it really kind of slows him down. Cal doing a good job of really with their integrity so far.
First California taken.
Has called their first charge timeout of the first half. Timeout on the field.
For TCU on the other side of this timeout. Time for your Fansville College Football Update, brought to you by Dr. Pepper. Washington plays tonight, and nothing else to see. Oh, wait a minute. Oregon won at the Horseshoe, 35-28. The Ducks over Ohio State. They had lost the last 9 games over to the Buckeyes. Hudson Mason, are you as shocked as the rest of the college football world seems to be?
Especially without Oregon's 2 best defensive players, one of them being probably what's going to be a top 10 pick in Thibodeau.
3rd down and 7 meanwhile for the Frogs. Timeout taken by Cal. Duggan pressured, stumbling as he throws. And incomplete sideline, so TCU goes 3 and out. You know, the Pac-12 last week had a disaster start. The only team to win in the Pac-12 North was Oregon, barely over Fresno. All of a sudden, the Ducks get a big win. Cal up on TCU early. Who knows? Could be a completely different narrative here in week 2, the way things are going.
UCLA with a big win over LSU, which was a huge win for the Fighting Chip Kellys.
Fair catch made by Remigio here on the punt from 8. Punt to 54 yards. Good kick.
The story so far, the theme by Cal has been chunk plays, something that they have preached all week long to the quarterback. This was on the first drive. A play of over 40 yards. They take a shot on the second corner, Tomlinson. And then on the second drive, Chase Garbers finds the one-on-one matchup for a touchdown. His offensive line is doing a phenomenal job of giving him enough time to go through his read. And Garbers so far, eyes in the right place. And give credit to Bill Musgrave, offensive for dialing him up.
Garbers last game averaged 4.7 yards per attempt. A little bit north of that today. 4 passes for 111 and a first down run of 3. Damian Moore.
This is the thing about Cal offensively, is they kind of got that triple option element where, man, if they're getting first downs and they're scoring points, it affects TCU's offense. They're not on the field as much and as often.
Like the first quarter against Nevada in a way, as Colin Moore makes the catch. The big difference, Nevada was more methodical. The big plays have been hit here, and we asked Justin Wilcox about those big plays. He said, look, that's superhuman. We're calling plays well within the scope of the ability of the players we're asking to make those plays.
Yeah, and so far, I mean, your quarterback, the guy that you're looking at, 4-year starter, has played a ton of football, was leading the way by that.
Marcel dancing back on 3rd down and 3. The tight end Todd just joins him in the backfield. Garbers will throw it, and it's incomplete. Crawford, the intended target. Hodges Tomlinson had the coverage, and Cal will.
Surprised that Cal, as good as they've been up front, decides to throw it in a short situation, and they find a one-on-one matchup. This time, Travius Hodges Tomlinson, the All-American, who was only thrown at 45 times in the entire year last season, is there in tight coverage to break it up.
Good coverage by you there, you think, or a little too tight?
No, I think really good. It's always great coverage when they don't throw the flag.
This is a good point. First incomplete for Garbers. And Darius Davis, a fair catch with half the Cal coverage team, and a kick of 41. So for TCU, just 16 yards so far. They've basically been neutralized by this Cal D.
Yeah, they have. Just feels like they've struggled to kind of get into a rhythm. Some of it has been self-inflicted, some drops on first down that have put them behind the sticks, put them rhythm, and the other part has been Cal's just doing a really good job defensively, especially to outside backers and Dang and Good, keeping everything from the pocket kind of in and out, not letting Max Duggan and his legs get outside and make plays.
It's a very experienced Cal defense. It's been the strength of the team under Justin Wilcox. Hugging a deep ball, and that's incomplete. Savion Williams, stable of his young wide receiver core, was the target by Chigozie Anusi.
Yeah, and that time Duggan not able to get enough on it because, again, the pressure from Tevis of Cal. See, it's not able to get enough torque on it.
A little pop to Spielman. And J.D. Spielman with a good pickup. That looked like a flip. That would be Duggan's first completion, if so, and a gain of 8 yards to set up 2.
The thing that makes TCU so hard to defend is the tempo. Right there, the ref's getting out and letting them roll.
Duggan to the keeper. And a first down and more. Duggan nearly broken free. After the little pop pass to Spielman, runs it for 10.
Yeah, this is, once they get a first down, okay, they can kind of settle down and breathe. And this is really where they become so dangerous to stop.
Duggan press, play action, and down he goes. Cameron Good took him down. The 6th-year, the Texas kid, who's got a whole lot of friends and family in town to watch that.
Yeah, Cameron Good, one of the best players on this Cal defense. Instead of having his eyes on the running back on a there, he stays at home. His responsibility is to make sure the quarterback hands the ball off. Well, he does, and the quarterback didn't hand it off, and he's there for a tackle for a loss.
Talked to Cam during the, what's your favorite thing to do on a field? He said, get a sack and get hyped after that. Down screen play. And it is the backup running back, Kendre Miller. Ball did come out late. Seemed like Miller was down first, and TCU will have a third down coming up. Ball just
Punched out right here. It looks like Elijah Hicks, number 3, and luckily TCU player is able to fall right back on top of it. Another third down already in the first quarter, and a real third and long situation, which feels like impossible to convert plays like this.
It was indeed a live ball to set up this third down for Duggan. And a chunky yards here. He'll get some of them back, but still should be a TCU punt in midfield. Quincy Brown, the freshman, makes his second career catch, and TCU will kick it near the end of the first or once we start the second.
Yeah, give Cal credit. They're doing some defensively right now to mix up their looks and really disrupt the flow of TCU. It feels like so far through the first quarter, TCU has not been able to get into a rhythm.
Sandy will kick it away before the expiration of the period. And Remigio calls for a fair catch inside his own 5-yard line. So Cal have a world to go with 3 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Your menu of college football tonight. Great for Texas over Louisiana in the opening game. Longhorns go to Arkansas. Big games for the Pac-12. Washington, Michigan, Utah, BYU soon to be a member of the Big 12, and Arizona State again, UNLV. What stands out to you on that menu, Hudson?
Well, I got my eyes on that Washington-Michigan game. Washington struggling last week after getting upset in their first game, and Michigan, obviously, Jim Harbaugh is one of the more polarizing figures in all of college football, and comes into this season with a lot of pressure and expectation to win.
A first down for Cal to end the period from the 5. And the running back, Damian Moore, will squeeze his way through for 3 yards. First quarter dominated by Cal. The Golden Bears were the only score. A 54-yard touchdown throw from Chase Garbers to Trayvon Clark. Cal looking to take out another non-conference team on the road. So far, so good for Justin Wilcox's crew. Three years ago, our first quarter score in the Cheez-It Bowl was Cal 7, TCU nothing in their first meeting since and second ever. It's 6-0. There's a botched snap on an extra point, but Cal on the board courtesy of a 54-yard touchdown pass. We didn't see any of those 3 years ago in the desert. Kevin Brown, Hudson with you as TCU looks to go to 2-0. Cal looks to get to 1-1. And a second down at 7 for Garbers. Nearly perfect in the first quarter, and again with a strike. They have hit every in this game. This is the tight end, Jake Tonjes, for another first down.
And these are the tiny throws Bill Musgrave told us this week that he needs his 4-year starting quarterback Garbers to make. Technically, a lot of people on the chalkboard wouldn't classify that as open. It's pretty good coverage by C.J. Caesar. But you see this so many times, quarterbacks, even at the next level, the Aaron Rodgers, the Brady's of the just throwing it at the back helmet, the back shoulder pad of that defender, and throwing your guy open.
28 yards to the redshirt senior Tonjes, who's had a nice Cal career. That uses a whole lot of tight ends. First down pass attempt and a short one for Romeo, pushed out of bounds after 4 yards.
You know, those type of throws, I call them BTT time throws, are the type of passes that make or break not only a game like this, you know, where there's slight margins in every phase of the game. Those type of throw for your starting quarterback are what give you the leg up.
25th year start for Garbers, 14-10 when he starts. When he plays half the game or more, Cal's 10-6 if you like selective numbers. Moore with a hard charging run to the sideline. He'll be a little bit shy of a first down. TJ Carter knocked him out. And we'll see if Cal decides to run it for the first time on a third down. 3rd and 1 coming up.
Yeah, heavy pass last week against Nevada on 3rd and short, which surprised me when I watched the tape, given the fact that a really good offensive line for Cal. You know, the strength of this offensive line on the left side, Ben Coleman and Will. I would be shocked to see anything other than a run right here.
And you'll be shocked. It's a first down pass. It's Jeremiah, and when we expect Cal to zig once again, Bill Musgrave zags.
Yeah. In the red zone. It didn't work out for him on the first trip on 4th and short. He decided to run it. I thought he should have thrown. But here you are on 3rd and 1. TCU loads the box and is anticipating a run. And soft coverage out over on the slot opens up the slant window.
Here is the offensive coordinator, Bill Musgrave. Garbers, another deep ball. And this time finally misses the connection. Under the target again. Carter in coverage for TCU.
It's one of the areas of this game that TCU had the advantage, which was the secondary against Cal's wide receivers. And so far, see here the chunk plays, the home run balls, as Musgrave calls it. Trayvon Clark with a big one. Tight end a couple plays ago, Jake Tonjes with a 2-yard catch, distributing it all across the board.
Garbers 8-10 for 53. Last game, 177 yards on 38 attempts. Another second down pass upcoming. Now Garbers will step up and take off. He's a good runner. And Garbers is to the TCU 40-yard line. A gain of 10 right near the end of the game.
You got to account for his legs. He's kind of a deceptive runner. Like when you watch him on tape, I don't think the tape really gives you a good indicator of how kind of sneaky athletic he is here. Left side of this offensive line open, but he's able to take what should have been a coverage sack and turn it into a positive gain.
Marked back at the 44, only a gain of 6 as Garbers went into the slide. So third down 4. Another pass on third down for Cal. Garbers is sacked. D. Winters absolutely unloaded. The junior with his 5th career.
Yeah, you're going to see D. Winters here from the linebacker position. Kind of looks like he's almost walked out over toward the slot to the left side. Doing a good job disguising coverage there. And Chad Glasgow, the defensive coordinator for TCU, doing a good job so far of mixing up blitzes and mixing up looks.
Very dangerous punt returner for TCU. So far been neutralized. Darius is a preseason All-American. There's a flag down at the snap. Bearcats Davis will check the marker. Punt of 40 from Jamison Sheehan.
Illegal formation, more than 4 players in the backfield on the kicking team. That penalty will be enforced at the end of the kick. First down, TCU. Timeout on the field.
Here it was, the play to blow up this drive from D. Winters as elected to use defense under Gary Patterson. Gets a big time stop on third down. Gary Patterson said, "Psych, just kidding, we're going to make you kick it again. We're not going to add 5 yards to the end of the punt." Would have put it at the 17. Horned Frogs will make Cal re-kick. And instead of the 17, they'll start at the 10. So that didn't work out. A punt to 47, a brilliant punt from the Australian Jamison Sheehan. So TCU first and 10, and it's 11 when we go to break for real this time. TCU just 37 yards on 3 drives, 2.8 yards per play against an experienced and ferocious California defense. Gold is in the lead still in the second quarter in Fort Worth. Option for Duggan, a late and nothing doing for Zach Evans. Cal all over it, maybe got a yard. Daniel Scott having a great game out of the Cal secondary, was in on the play.
Yeah, these safeties and for Cal's defense, as soon as you turn on the tape, you see they are so active in the run game. They are not guys that kind of just, get involved when it's a pass. And Daniel Scott, again for the second time this game, reads and reacts option play to the boundary and turns it into a tackle for a loss.
Loss of 1 down. Duggan will decide to keep it late. Duggan just chucks it away with a defensive lineman, Jaden Roberts, all over him, the sophomore guard. And the Horned Frogs can't get anything going right now on offense as the officials discuss not this should be intentional grounding. Looks like it is.
Intentional grounding, number 15, offense. That foul will be enforced at the spot of the foul, loss of down. Second down.
You can see here, Roberts right over the center guard area is able to get his hands on Duggan.
Correction, it is third down.
And that's a right call. No receiver really in the vicinity of the area. And you mentioned it, Kevin. It just so far feels like, a quarter change in that TCU hasn't been able to establish any of their tempo, which is a pillar of what this offense has been about.
We have 3rd and 16 from the 4. 5 receivers for Duggan. He'll get rid of it quickly. It's intercepted. Who else but Daniel Scott having the first half of his life. A pick 6 for Scott, and Cal's got the first 2 scores on the road.
And I don't know if Duggan just didn't see over there toward the boundary, if he thought he was going to carry one of the receivers vertical, but it was a hitch route. Just a simple 5 or 6 yard hitch route, and you're taught never throw that to a pressed up hard corner, and Duggan does, and it's easy the rest of the way for Daniel Scott.
Wilcox told us his secondary had some, quote, ball anxiety, unquote, last game. And here Scott was quite anxious to get the ball for a 9-yard pick 6, the second interception of his career. Now hang on a second. Cal's going to go for 2. Second quarter, and I don't think Gary Patterson is ready for it at all.
Delay a game, offense, 5-yard penalty, replay the try.
Well, apparently Cal was not ready for it either. Delay a game, and now the Golden Bears will just bring the extra point team onto the field.
Yeah, usually when something like that happens, it's indicative of probably not knowing that the plan was to go for 2. Your special teams units running on the field, offense is running off. So probably some miscommunication there about the overall plan and idea. And I agree with this. I think it's still too early to be chasing points if I'm Cal. Kick the field goal.
Over the last extra point, there was a poor snap from Slater Zellers, not caught by the holder Jamison Sheehan. TCU came quickly off the edge here, but the extra point is through. Flag down, maybe because of the quick jump by C.J. Caesar off the edge. The classic back-to-back flags on extra point tries. Put that on your college football bingo card.
Technically, if you went for it a play ago, you got to for it again, right? It's the same down and distance that it was the first time.
Maybe.
Offside, number 9. Defense. That penalty will be enforced half the distance. Replay the try.
They're going to go for it again.
Wow. They really love. I mean, you only do this if you've got a play you really feel confident about. They're going to put the ball in the dash, which is their choice. Well, let's see what Bill Musgrave dials up. Some type of reverse.
Barber's rolling out, and he will throw it. It is accepted on the 2-point try. O'Shawn Mathis, the All-American defensive end. 12-0 Cal. Very odd score, but the Golden Bears get 6 defensively. Daniel Scott, the route jumper, and a house call for California. Well, a big, big weekend, not just of football, but a whole more. Washington, Michigan tonight, Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One on ABC. The U.S. Open Women's happening now. The Men's Championship tomorrow at 4 Eastern, 3 Central as Novak Djokovic looks for a Grand Slam. And week 1 of the NFL, Monday Night Football, the Ravens in Vegas at 8 Eastern on Monday night. Here's another look, Hudson, at this pick 6.
Yeah, this is the pick 6 previously before. I want to put your eyes jersey on the 11-yard line at the bottom of your screen. Number 32 for Cal, Daniel Scott. And this is covered. The corner of the boundary is going to bail, and Daniel Scott's responsibility is to buzz out to the flats and take quick game underneath. And that's exactly what he does. Duggan pre-snap sees the soft corner, but post-snap, after the ball is snapped, he doesn't see Daniel Scott buzz out underneath. And as a quarterback, you have to keep your eyes up and feel the area. And that time, Daniel Scott was right out underneath and having a day for himself. 4 tackles and a pick 6 so far for Scott.
All right, so you're Max Duggan. I'm putting you in his now. TCU's done almost nothing offensively. You throw a pick six. What's going through your mind?
Well, I'm just thinking as a quarterback, let's find a way to get a first down. I mean, it feels like TCU hasn't been able to get into a rhythm, which they haven't, because they haven't really been able to get into a first down. Once you get that first down, it kind of seems like it calms things down. You're able to get in some of your tempo. So far, only 3 first downs for TCU through a quarter and a half almost.
And a first down handoff here to Evans, and Cal has stood up against this talented running back and this strong offensive line on the ground, a gain of just 3.
I think the other thing you got to do right here if you're play caller for TCU is just try to get some confidence back in your quarterback with some easy completions, screens, maybe some quick game, and don't forget about his legs. He's one of the best running quarterbacks in the entire Big 12. Doing a good job of taking away some of the intermediate stuff in the deep game. Utilize the threat of his legs.
Motion receiver into the backfield down. And then this is Duggan with his legs. And Evan Tattersall cleans after a gain of 3 more. Max Duggan, a season ago, the Big Ten's rushing quarterback, 10 touchdowns, over 500 yards. The accuracy went up from 50 to 61%. Gary Patterson was very pleased because Max Duggan, positive for COVID in the offseason, had a heart condition discovered, had a procedure. He is okay now, but got a very late start to the year, so really didn't have a usual fall or spring because of COVID, because of a heart issue. Way down throw, and a completion. Blair Conwright slithering his way across the marker, and there you go, Hudson. There's your first down.
That's exactly what you needed. It kind of felt like the stress and the pressure and the tenseness in the stadium just so high right now, and you guys, you can see, get the first down, and immediately they push tempo.
Duggan with one receiver on the dime. He throws it to him, Quentin Johnston. And incomplete with a coverage once again from an...
So much that was preview for Cal this week defensively was about getting to the ball and get the call. And so far, this Cal defense doing a nice job of that because the proper communication leads to the proper alignment, just like right there.
Second down burst for Evans. This is the big run TCU's been looking for. Dak Evans, the sophomore out of Houston, with a gain of 22 into California territory.
Yeah, Evans, patient runner. Excited to see this kid. He's the first 5-star in the history of the TCU football program. See him kind of wait, make that first jump cut. And the athleticism and the size of Evans is exciting to see.
No Amari DiMercado today. Evans the belt back as Duggan keeps it on first down. We were talking to Jerry Kill, offensive assistant for TCU, and he said, look, Zach Evans only had 5 carries against Duquesne. I'm excited to see Evans sweat a little bit. He wanted to see what Zach could do in a game where he got 20 touches.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are excited to kind of see that. It's been a running back by committee approach so far. And I get the feel, too, that last week you only saw a small glimpse TCU is going to do this week offensively.
And back here is Kendre Miller. Duggan on the keep, tripped up. Got back to the line of scrimmage. They're down and 8 come the Frogs.
Some of these outside linebackers and defensive ends for Cal are doing such a really good job with discipline on some of these zone reads, bootleg keepers. A lot of times you'll see these defensive ends with their eyes in the backfield and they real hard down the line of scrimmage. That there, having your eyes in the right place ends up causing a minimal gain for Duggan.
Little used Femi Oladejo made the stop. Duggan to throw it, steps up, and he'll take off. Max Duggan, blocked by Oladejo once again, needed to get 8, and it looked like he picked up 9. First down TCU.
this is where you feel like Cal can't be right defensively. If they're going to drop people into coverage, drop 8, drop 7, and they're going to cover everything, it's a numbers game. There's just not enough hats defensively to account for Duggan's legs.
Duggan in the face of pressure. End zone touchdown. Blair Conwright, the sophomore from Lubbock, with a second touchdown of his TCU career. Horned Frogs on the board and a strike of 30 yards. The answer that Gary Patterson was looking for, a 9-play, 75-yard drive as Duggan shakes off the pick 6 and gets TCU on the board for the first time in week 2. Griffin Kell on for the point after try. It's 12-7 on the touchdown throw from Duggan to Conwright.
Well, love what Max Duggan does with his eyes right here. Keeps him into the middle of the field for a split second, holds the safety, and throws an absolute dime to Blair Conwright. TCU on the board. Well, here's the previous touchdown throw from Max Duggan to Blair Conwright. The slot receiver at the bottom of your screen. The run, it all goes. And Duggan holds the safety. That's the key for a split second in the middle of the field. And love the tempo of the throw. The ball doesn't sail. It's not too long in the air. He gets it up. He gets it down to Blair Conwright. It's a great job of what we call using some eye manipulation. If Max Duggan just stares at Blair Conwright the whole way, then the middle field safety for Cal is able to get over there and either knock his receiver out or pick the ball off. Really good job of rebounding there by Max Duggan. After the previous drive, he threw a pick 6.
So Cal will start it for the 25 after the touchback from Griffin Kell. 6:01 to go here in the first half. College football tonight. A big day for the Pac-12 already. Oregon with a monstrous win at Ohio State, 35-28. Ducks ranked 12th in the nation. They will soar from there. And some statement games for Washington, Utah, and Arizona State on our family of networks. Now Cal up 12-7. 1 touchdown on offense, 1 on defense for Chase Garbers and the Golden Bears. Lost 22-17 in Nevada last week. Cal has not started 0-2 since 2001. The season they won 1 game. Garbers down the field again. On 1st and 10. Are you kidding me? Trayvon Clark with a touchdown earlier with absolutely nobody near him. And Cal is absolutely torching TCU's secondary.
It was a complete boss in the secondary for TCU. I mean, Trayvon Clark is running wide open. You can see here, miscommunication, misalignment. Nico Remigo runs the inside post, and there's no safety over the top for Trayvon Clark. That's as easy as it's going to get for a Division I quarterback and receiver playing pitch and catch. He just sneaks behind these guys, and I don't even say kind of loses them. I just think one half of the field was playing a certain coverage, and the boundary was playing something different.
68 yards for Clark, 1st and goal for Cal. Garbers back to the end zone, touchdown! Nico Remigio. And a spectacular answer for Cal after the TCU touchdown. 75 yards on 2 passing plays to shock the Horned Frogs.
Well, Gary Patterson has got to be livid with his secondary right now, especially on those back-to-back plays. Communication and getting the coverage is everything for defensive backs pre-snap. And when you can't get lined up and make sure your eyes are in the right place, you're susceptible to big plays. And that happened on back-to-back plays right there for TCU.
2 California kids who got to know each other well in high school. JT Daniels, the mutual connection between Garbers and Remigio. And it's a touchdown in back-to-back games for Nico Remigio, and Cal back up a dozen, looking for a signature road win in week 2. Nico Remigio cleaned up the drive with a 7-yard touchdown catch after a 68-yard ball from Chase Garbers to Trayvon Clark. 2 touchdown throws for Garbers after a first game against Nevada, where he threw for 177 yards on 38 attempts. Today, 12 passing attempts, and he's already thrown for 228. J.D. Spielman, the TCU return, bounces into his own man and gets knocked down at the 20.
Well, the theme so far in the first half for Cal has been the chunk plays. Here on the first drive, Garbers finds his receiver on the All-American DB Tomlinson. The one-on-one ball, follows it up to Trayvon Clark, drops it in the bucket for a touchdown. And then he finds his big 6'5" tight end, Tonjes. And then this was just a busting coverage. Trayvon Clark's like, hey, do you see me, man? They're leaving me open. We talked about the chunk plays and envisioned it would be hard for Cal to win today without them. Last week, they only averaged 4.5 yards per completion. So far today, 22 yards per completion.
Duggan on the run of completion. Finally connects with Quentin Johnston, who breaks a tackle and needs to be taken down by about 3 different Bears. Eventually, Muelo Iosefa, who got him after a gain of a dozen. And here's the TCU tempo after a first down. Duggan will check it down to Evans. First down, Zach Evans. And TCU is starting to look like, well, TCU.
Yeah, the TCU that we know is a TCU of tempo and spacing and running a lot of plays. And if they're not scoring points, they need to at least be keeping their offense on the field and giving their defense some rest with first downs. This is where they like to be.
Down run for Evans. You asked Jerry Kill yesterday, what's the key to your offensive tempo? And he said succinctly, the umpire.
Yeah, I mean, the umpire is the gate holder to them going fast. You know, they can really go as fast as the refs will allow them to go. And usually what that means is when offense substitutes, the defense has the right to substitute. If they don't, you'll see that umpire get out away from the center and let those guys go. Or at least he should.
In theory, it works out that way. Evans on a second down. Pushes forward for 6, another first down. TCU 6-4 season ago, winners of 5 of 6 to end the season. 10 offensive starters back for this year's team, which is currently 1 spot outside top 25. Duggan pressured, got rid of it in time, down the field, and too long for Tay Barber. Here is Jerry Kill, the special assistant to Gary Patterson, working with the offense, longtime head coach at Minnesota, longtime friend of Gary Patterson, a story that's been told time and again. Those two were members of the same wedding party, Gary's wedding party. Jerry Kill, a longtime friend, and 2 years now assisting Gary Patterson on the TCU sidelines. Duggan nowhere to go, and Duggan tried to get rid of it. Was he down first as Cameron Good got to him?
As the quarterback knee was down. It'll be 3rd down.
And it'll be a 2nd sack for Cameron Good, who continues to impress in front of the home crowd.
Cameron Good having himself a day. And it looks like he's down. Duggan down. Knee hits before the ball comes out. This is one of the X factors of the day, is how much pressure will this front 4 be able to get on TCU's quarterback, Max Duggan, so far, creating a really dirty pocket for him to live in.
One of 13 Texans on the Cal team. Duggan 3rd and 25. Gets back across midfield to Johnston. The TCU, after a gain of 10, will certainly have to kick it right back to Cal.
I mean, you think about some of these third and distances that TCU has lived in today. 3rd and 16, 3rd and 17, 3rd and 10 plus, and there, 3rd and 15 plus again. I mean, there's just not many plays in your playbook that you can go to time and time again that are going to get you 20 plus yards when you need them.
Another punt coming for Jordy Sandy, who's been good today. Keep it out of the end zone again, and he will fail to do so. Touchback. 2 sacks for Cameron Good, who made the big second down play for California. 6-year senior, son of an Oklahoma star, James. 14 sacks coming into the game, now at 16. Interesting talking to Peter Sermon, said he's a little more slippery than your traditional linebacker. And this is a young man from Spring, Texas, who told us the only offer he had from a Texas-based school was Texas State. Little interest from Texas and A&M, not much from TCU. He went to Cal and he said, I still feel like I'm slept on. By the way, right in front of him, that's Coy Deng, their other star linebackers, on crutches right now, it appears, so we'll monitor that. 2 defensive stars, Good having a great game, and Deng going to be on crutches on the Cal sideline right there, number 8.
Yeah, it was hard to envision.
TCU has called their first charge timeout of the first half, 30 seconds in length.
Coming into today's game, Cal winning, and this being a 4-quarter ball game without 2 big performances from these 2 guys right here, Deng and Good. And Deng is an interesting, kind of prospect at the next level because of his length, and so is Good. I mean, both these guys have gotten to campus, put on a lot of weight. You heard Peter Sermon, as you referenced there, Kevin, talk about, being lengthy and being an interesting prospect. I think these guys at the next level, what they look at is your length, your size, can you bend? And most outside linebackers and pass rushers tend to be rigid, not these 2 guys.
Take a look at your All-State college football rankings, and there's going to be a seismic shakeup after Ohio State loses its first regular season game of the Ryan Day era to Oregon. A&M Colorado, another big one for the Pac-12. The Buffs have the lead early, and Notre Dame trailing by 2 at home to Toledo. Could be a lot of moving and shaking here in week 2 of the 2021 season. Out of the backfield, this is DeCarlos Brooks for 7. TCU's not going to use another timeout. They'll let the clock tick down before this 3rd and 2.
And if you're Cal here, again, 3rd and short. When we thought they were going to pass the ball, they've run it in 3rd and short. When we thought they were going to run it, they've passed it. I think what the main goal here is to keep the ball in bounds and at least make TCU burn another timeout.
Garbers again who's going to throw it. He's going to throw it deep on 3rd and 2. And Cal is looking for a flag. The ball taken away. It is intercepted by Travius Hodges-Tomlinson for TCU. This play will certainly be looked at again. At the moment, it is an interception in back-to-back weeks for Hodges-Tomlinson.
And from here, I thought Cal's receiver, Darius Davis, caught it. And he might have. And then as the 2, it looks like it lands in Davis's hands first. And it looks like it hits his leg and then maybe bounces into the arms of Hodges-Tomlinson.
I'm absolutely baffled. That ball ended up in Travius Hodges-Tomlinson's lap.
Is under further review.
I'm baffled at the play call, to be honest. 3rd and 2. You've got a nice cushion with 30 seconds left, and you throw a deep ball down the field. And I know something freaky like this, the chances of it happening are very slim, but, if you're Bill Musgrave here, you're just hoping that ball hit the ground.
I mean, it looks impossible that it didn't hit the ground, and yet I don't know that there's a definitive angle that says it hit the ground there, as crazy as that sounds.
Well, that's the key. And we saw this play out earlier in the game. Is there enough conclusive evidence to overturn the call on the field? I haven't seen an angle yet that would tell me there is. I mean, you can see the ball definitely hit the leg of Darius Davis. The question is, does it hit the leg and then scrape the ground?
You've got to have indisputable video evidence for the call to be changed. The call on the field is interception. Again, it just seems like logically from that angle, there's no way the ball could not have hit the ground, and yet from that shot, it doesn't appear that there's ever a definitive 100% look that it did. And maybe some way flukily, the ball did not actually scrape the grass.
And if the rule on the field does stand, I mean, what life now that TCU gets right before half? I mean, Cal should have been going into halftime at least with a 19-7 lead. And this is why you saw very few teams last year, just in general, throw at Hodges Tomlinson. All-American coming into the season.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is an incomplete pass. The ball will be placed at the 28-yard line. It'll be 4th and 2. Game clock operator, please reset the game clock to 41 seconds, please. 41 seconds.
Ruling was that after it hit the knee, the ball did hit the ground before Hodges Tomlinson got his hand under there. And there will be no interception here for Hodges Tomlinson, and Cal catches a bit of a break.
Yeah, they do. They catch a big break there. And, you know, if I'm Hodges Tomlinson, I'd be frustrated too. I think he's probably going to be more agitated when he sees the replay and the lack of evidence that there was, in my opinion, to overturn it.
Davis back to receive the kick. TCU has 2 timeouts. Davis, dangerous returner, will take off. Rid of the first defender, and he's out near the 35. 28 seconds to go. Only a return of 2 after a kick of 45. Monday Night Football's 52nd season kicks off in a couple of days. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens in Vegas to take on Derek Carr and the Raiders. Steve Levy, Brian Griese, Louis Riddick are back for another season of Monday Night Football with Lisa Salters and John Parry. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific on ESPN, ABC, ESPN Deportes, and the ESPN app for a special edition of Monday Night Countdown, kicking it off 2 hours before the game. Some big football tonight in Allegiant Stadium. BYU seem to be admitted to the Big 12 and Arizona. That game on ESPN at 9:30 Central in Vegas. 2 timeouts for Duggan from his own 35. Max will look long. He will throw to the sideline. It is a completed pass. Darius Davis, who just returned the punt, gets out of bounds after 14.
Yeah, preserves a couple of these timeouts that are still left for TCU. Clock stops. You're still in your 2-minute offense, and now, because of those 2 timeouts, you can still attack the middle of the field if you want to.
Career high for Griffin Kell is 52. They'll run it here. Evans a first down. Evans a lot more. Across the 10, and Zach Evans toward the goal line, waiting for a signal, and he is in. A magnificent gallop of a touchdown run. 52 yards for Zach Evans.
Well, how about the play and the confidence by offensive play caller Doug Meacham with 2 timeouts to still go to a run play there when most would for sure try to throw the ball. Cal playing a little bit of prevent defense, trying to keep everything in front of them. And we've heard a ton about the athleticism and the burst of Zach Evans, the 5-star recruit, the first 5-star recruit
of a touchdown is under further review
in the history of the program. And I think what they're probably going to be reviewing here is, did he get out of bounds right before the end zone?
Officially, it's a run of 51 as we watch the feed along the sideline. Looks good to me.
Yeah, looks good to me. You know how many times I've said that before, though? And they overturn it? But this one, I feel pretty confident that you can see that divot kind of come up out of the grass. The cleat mark's still in bounds right there.
Elijah Hicks trying to chase him down. Ball was certainly over the goal line when his foot hit the pylon 2, which would deaden the play. So Zach Evans appears to have a touchdown run. First 5-star signing in TCU history. Darwin Barlow, their leading running back last season, transferred to USC. It is
After
his
reviewing
rule.
the play, the ruling on the field is confirmed. Touchdown, TCU.
Zach Evans going to get an early start on halftime here.
You deserve an early start on halftime after that run.
He's all right in the locker room. He just to hydrate. 19-14 on the extra point from Cal. And a 2-play touchdown drive for TCU after Cal had a 2-play touchdown drive earlier in the quarter.
When I go back to the play call by Doug Meacham to run the ball, those offensive coordinators wouldn't have the guts to run the ball here with a couple seconds left and still 2 timeouts in their back pocket. Cal is completely unprepared for a run up the middle, and Zach Evans is able to do the rest. You see the second burst after the line of scrimmage. It's an inside zone, and it's the cutback. The cutback that leads to a touchdown in the vision, and now all of a sudden TCU is back in this thing.
Jerry Kill told us, look, I've had a lot of great running backs like Coach Brandon Jacobs, but he put Zach Evans up with anybody for what he can do on the ground, for what he can do in pass protection as well. And Cal and TCU in this second quarter have combined for 4 touchdowns. So we can all forget about the Cheez-It Bowl now because the offenses have actually bothered to show up here in 2021.
But how much of a topic of conversation will it become going back to the decision to throw the ball deep on 3rd and 2 by Bill Musgrave?
Great point. Remigio runs into his own man. I mean, I wonder, Hudson, and who knows, but if Cal runs the ball there, doesn't get the first down, forces TCU to burn a timeout, are they still going to run that play and run the ball with only 1 timeout remaining with Evans? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they would. And that's why it was a bit baffling to me because and it wasn't an interception, but it also didn't keep the clock running and force TCU to burn a timeout. I just think it's a low percentage throw. They're on 3rd and 2 backed up. You want to burn the clock and get out of there before half.
Well, the good news for TCU, they'll start the second half with the ball and with a little bit of momentum at the end of the first half. The good news for Cal, they've got the lead. Justin Wilcox unbeaten in the non-conference until last week. Welcome back to Fort Worth. You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. 19-14, the Golden Bears of California looking for their first one of the season, lead at TCU at the half. Kevin Brown, Hudson Mason back with you. TCU a pretty substantial favorite in this game, Hudson, but Cal has never trailed.
Yeah, Cal has done a really good job in the first half of keeping the ball and the explosiveness, the deep ball throws. Bill Musgrave called them the home run balls have been the difference so far, and Chase Garber has been really, really good with his deep ball accuracy.
Our celebration moments brought to you by Allstate. This was not there a week ago for Cal, but the Golden Bears early, a 54-yard touchdown throw to Trayvon Clark. They just kept picking apart TCU's secondary.
Yeah, I think TCU kind of came in expecting to sit on a bunch of underneath routes, and Cal came in with the intentions of trying to get their secondary to back off, try to get the run game going. You see here the comparisons between Garbers and Duggan. Garber has played phenomenal, accurate, decisive, and I think Duggan responded really nicely after the pick 6 in the second quarter.
Maybe as strong at 30 minutes as we've seen in 4 years of Chase Garbers. Can Cal sustain it? TCU gets the ball to start the second half when we return. 19-14, the Cal Golden Bears lead at TCU. 30 minutes down, 30 to go in Fort Worth. Horned Frogs, the second of 4 consecutive home games to start the season. SMU comes to town in 2 weeks after a bye in Texas to open Big 12 play. It was a much better second quarter for Max Duggan and TCU, a game where Duggan and Garbers have combined to throw for 3 touchdowns, only 1 interception. 3 years after no touchdowns, 9 interceptions between the two teams. They're only meeting in the Cheez-It Bowl. TCU will start for the 25 after a touchback, and Max Duggan gave up a pick 6 early in the second quarter, Hudson, but what did TCU do to change momentum after that?
Well, I thought Duggan responded really well. Showed some mental toughness after the pick 6 in the second quarter. In the very next drive, let his team down. You talk about moxie, leadership, throws a strike for a touchdown to Blair Conright. I think it's the first down statistic right there. Only 3 in the first quarter, 9 in the second quarter. So much of this offense is predicated off tempo and spacing and wearing down that opposing defense because they accrue snaps. Sometimes when you're not scoring points, staying on the field ends up being more important.
Duggan will keep it himself on first down. Minimal running first half for him. This is a gain of 5 for Duggan. Zach Evans, 92 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries for TCU, including the 51-yard score to end the first half. Cal, it appears, will be without Coin Deng, their star 6th-year senior and outside linebacker for the remainder of the game. He's on crutches on the sideline. Cameron Good, 2 sacks in the first half to lead the way for the Golden Bears. And Daniel Scott with a bunch of tackles and a pick 6 as well for California. This is Willow Iosefa on the tackle to set up 3rd down and short.
If you go back to really what we talked about at the beginning, the control the run game for TCU. I thought these outside rushers, Deng and Good, obviously Deng out now, have got to do a really good job in the second half of compressing everything back toward the middle. So far, they've done a really good job of setting the edges and funneling it back toward their linebackers to make the plays.
TCU in the first half, 4 for 9 on 3rd down. And a handoff here to J.D. Spielman, who shifted into the backfield. Needed 2 and got 6. This was earlier. We've not seen Coin Deng come out for the second half. 6-year senior, 2nd-year captain for Cal. 119 tackles 2 years ago. Cal does not release injury updates in game, so we can't give you any specifics on Deng other than what we're seeing here. It looks like his day is done. Young linebacking core behind Deng will have to step up for Cal. Duggan on the run. Into tight coverage. And it was incomplete. Colin Gamble in there on Quentin Johnston.
Well, Peter Sherman, the defensive coordinator for Cal, is not going to let Max Duggan sit in his pocket comfortably. Brings a safety blitz to the boundary. Daniel Scott been so active today, already with a pick 6. Forces Duggan outside of the pocket to kind of throw this deep ball off his back leg. And Gamble almost comes down with it, gets nicked at the last minute. There's Johnson limping off the field.
On 2nd down, nowhere to go for Kendra Miller. Cameron Good, 2 sacks in the first half. And another big play for the Big Bear.
How good has he been today? I mean, just completely as advertised. He'll play that nickel Sam position, and the thing I love about Cam Good is he's physical enough to stick his head in there and make tackles, but he's athletic enough like a DB to cover some of those slot receivers.
TCU needs to get about its own 48 on 3rd and 12. Cal rushes 4. Duggan steps up, throws it, completes it. Up first down for Cartwright. Cartwright into Cal territory. The touchdown receiver in the first half with a gain of 17.
Yeah, Cal decides to play zone in 3rd and long. Combright lines up in the slide. He's going to run 12 yards and just kind of settle right there in the weak and soft spot, and his quarterback finds him.
Duggan another heave into single coverage, and once again overthrew an open receiver. Darius Davis streaking down the field.
So often what TCU loves to do after a first down when defenses are trying to substitute is go tempo and take a shot.
To Miller. A slithery run. Miller breaks a tackle. First down, TCU down to the 30. Kendre Miller, the backup running back today, with Amari DiMercado out. He picks up 18.
Yeah, Doug Meacham said he runs with an attitude. You see it there. Number 2 running back behind Zach Evans. And the formations of TCU allow for a friendly box count.
Right back to him. Not much doing here. Luke Beckett, the 7th-year super duper senior, made the stop for Cal.
I think that was the message that Gary Patterson told his team, at least offensively. We got to get back to, part of the DNA of this offense is tempo, yes, and spacing, but they got to run the football. Outside of that long run right before half for Zach Evans, Cal has really controlled the line of scrimmage and been far more physical at the point of attack than I thought they would be today.
Second motion, Miller pressured, throws away from it down the field and incomplete, out of bounds. Who else but Cameron Good up in the face of Duggan again to set up a 3rd and long for TCU.
Who else is right? You just come to expect that when you need somebody for Cal to get after the quarterback and put him in an uncomfortable passing situation, that you can count on Cam Good. One of the goals today coming into this was get Max Duggan off his spot, and they did it there. Let's see if they can do it here and again in another 3rd and long.
TCU's hit a couple of 3rd downs on this first drive, the second half. Duggan. And it is caught. Johnston back into the game after getting dinged up a few plays ago. Working on Daniel Scott for a first down gain of 10.
Now, you mentioned it hobbled off the field. This is a comfortable blanket for Duggan. Finds his big 6'4", 200-pound receiver who was so explosive for him a year ago there to the boundary on a big 3rd and 8 conversion.
From the 19, a quarterback keeper. Duggan breaks it to the outside. He is, according to Jerry Kill, either the fastest or the 2nd fastest player on the TCU team. And he got a little bit there out of a play that looked dead in the water.
That's what he can do. I mean, his legs are a true threat. Most quarterbacks, the goal defensively is you feel like, man, if you can get him flush out of the pocket, the play's over and you won. With Max Duggan, man, the play's really just beginning. That's really where he's most lethal.
Mass substitution for Cal before this second down. Working in the 93-degree Texas heat. Miller, another first down. And right now TCU is sticking it to California, but a flag on the play. Here from Michael Vanderbilt for the first time in the second half.
Holding, number 78, offense, 10-yard penalty, still second down.
Wes Harris, the right guard.
Wes Harris back from injury. Arguably TCU's best offensive lineman all around. And we asked Gary Patterson in our coaches meeting if he wanted to start fast, if they would take the opening kickoff, and he said no. It was a specific decision to defer. Get his offensive ball in the second half, try to wear down this Cal defense in this heat.
14 play to drive, couple of fakes. Duggan dumps it to Spivey. That's the first catch for Jacorius Spivey, the wide receiver tight end hybrid, transfer from Mississippi State. Third down coming up for TCU.
I feel like it's so important when you're playing Cal's offense because of ball control and time clock to get up and take a lead. But Gary Patterson really believes that Cal, coming from Northern California where it's sunny and 75, that the heat in the second half here in Texas could be used to his advantage.
3rd and 9 from the 18. Dug in, throws it, end zone, touchdown. Quentin Johnston caps the drive with an 18-yard touchdown catch, and TCU takes its first lead.
Well, Duggan's going to buy some time in the pocket, and Quentin Johnston, with his size and speed, especially down here in the red zone, you just throw it up high to him and let him go climb that ladder, especially on some of these smaller DBs for Cal that are 6 foot or less. It's a huge mismatch in the red zone.
The kind of drive that Cal would dream of. 15 plays, 75 yards, and 6:17. And the Horned Frogs are in front at home for the first time today. On a 15-play, 75-yard drive to start the third quarter. The second touchdown throw of the day. And there's the recipient, Quentin Johnston, with the most yards per catch in a single season in TCU history last year, 22.1. Gary Patterson and TCU thriving in the heat. This is the hottest point of the day, right around 4:43 local. And Cal will get the ball down 2 at its own 25. Tomorrow, the men's final in the U.S. Open from Flushing Meadows. The 1 and the 2 seeds. Novak Djokovic trying to become the 3rd man ever. The calendar Grand Slam, trying to break the all-time Grand Slam record of Roger Federer and Rafael Nadal that Djokovic currently shares at 21. Djokovic and Daniil Medvedev. Medvedev has won 3 of the last 5 meetings. So, Hudson, the big question on everybody's mind, who you got, Hudson Mason? You a Joker guy or you Team Medvedev?
Hold on, let me go to Google.
What's that going to do? We just gave you all the numbers you need. 3-2 in the last 5 meetings.
Not exactly my wheelhouse. Wrong guy to ask.
Google. Women's final right now, by the way, is on ESPN. And Emma Raducanu of Great Britain leading Leyla Fernandez 6-4, 2-2 to teenagers in the final. All right, this you know more about, quarterback play. I don't think you need to Google why Chase Garbers had a good first half, do you?
No, I do not. It's pretty straightforward. He's been very accurate. It's something that he's been, and his coaches have worked with them all off season, and 11 for 15, and they have found a groove specifically with some of the deep balls over the middle of the field. Some of these TCU safeties only sit at about 10 yards deep.
Garbers pressured, nowhere to go, and the screen pass complete. Marcel Dantzig did well to just get something out of that. He got 4 yards, in fact, as Garbers dropped back about 15.
It does feel like, though, Cal is going to have to find a little bit more consistency in the run game to take some of the pressure off the right arm of Chase Garbers. Cal only averaged 1.6 yards per carry there in the first half, which is just unlike a Cal offense.
Last week the question was, why didn't Cal run the ball more with all their success? Today it's been Garbers dominant through the air. They need to make a play on 3rd and 6. He does not. It is nearly intercepted, overthrown out of the hands of Trayvon Clark. It was Bud Clark, the free safety behind it. Incomplete pass and a 3-and-out for Cal.
Love what TCU did there defensively. They kind of put D. Winters in like a semi-spy. And as Garber stepped up in the pocket, it looked like he had an opportunity to run for it, but because D. Winters was right there in his grill, it kind of forced Garbers to throw an inaccurate little bit of a high ball to his receiver. He was unable to come down with the catch.
Jamison Sheehan's punt. Catch made by Darius Davis inside his own 35. Touchdown TCU. Cal with a 3 and out. Horned Frogs with the ball in the lead in the second half. Moment of silence before the game on the 20th anniversary of the September 11th, 2001 attacks. As we remember the men and women who lost their lives that day. Specifically today, we're remembering a very special Cal Golden Bear, Brent Woodall, a football and baseball player for the Golden Bears, who lost his life in the attacks. There's Brent, who was a terrific two-sport athlete for Cal, very good baseball player, a couple of years in AAA with the Cubs. His wife gave birth to their daughter, Pierce, 6 months after Brent's passing. They now live there in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And she founded the Brent Woodall Foundation for Exceptional Children in 2003, supporting the treatment of autism and empowering parents of autistic children. The university established a scholarship to a football player who embodies his ideals, currently held by wide receiver Raymond Hudson, redshirt freshman on the Cal team. First down, Zach Evans with a carry of 12. TCU with touchdowns on 3 of its last 4 drives. And the Horned Frogs have turned a 12-point deficit into a 2-point lead.
It feels like this is where you're going to see Zach Evans start to break that sweat that Coach Kill talked about. He's having so much success here because of the left side of that offensive line. Just getting push and push and push on a Cal defense that spent some time on the field.
105 yards and just 11 carries. Another one here. Evans with a big burst. And you can see the talent just oozing off of Zach Evans, the highest rated recruit in TCU history. There is a flag, though, on the play.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 19, defense. 15 yards to be added to the end of the run. It's an automatic first down.
That's Cameron Good, who's had himself a spectacular day, but hurts his team's cause here.
Yeah, first mistake he's made all day. Speed option. Ball gets pitched to Zach Evans, and unfortunately, Cam Good gets called for the targeting or the unnecessary roughness.
Here's the ball to the 25. Keeper for Duggan. Cleaned up by Elijah Hicks. Let's see it. It's the hit on Duggan here.
Yeah, I'm a former quarterback, Kevin, myself, and I got to tell you, I think that's a little soft.
I mean, Duggan's basically in the act of pitching the ball there. You can't assume that he's...
What do you want him to do? Just stop playing football?
Second down, pop pass. Davis brought down by young linebacker Marquez Bimage before a third down and long. It'll be third and about 7 for TCU.
Doesn't this just feel like this is where the game is going to kind of hinge here in the second half? How many stops can Cal get defensively on third down? Some of these, what they call money downs.
A stoppage before this third down. Muelo Iosefa, California starting linebacker, is down. Remember, Cal is already without Coin Deng, who's on crutches and out of his uniform. He's one of their starting outside linebackers. Iosefa is one of Cal's starting inside linebackers. Started a couple of games as a true freshman last year. It's a hot day. Hopefully this is just a cramp or something of that nature.
Yeah, hopefully so. Really talented linebacker for Cal there. And, you know, TCU really challenges you with their RPO, run pass option games. And there you see Deng on crutches as well. 2 really good, talented players that I know Coach Wilcox was hoping to have for 4 quarters here and play a pivotal role.
Hudson, how much do you feel like TCU's attacked that spot in the Cal defense with Deng out of the game?
I think they've attacked it more trying to run the ball with Zach Evans over there on that side of the ball, more so than any other way. But, you know, this is an area where you think with TCU uses a lot of RPO action with a backup linebacker over the middle of the field, they attack.
Duggan's got to look out. Broke free of one blitzer. On 3rd down and 7, he will throw it incomplete. Got pressure from Femi Oladipo, another one of those young linebackers who's had to play major minutes. 4th down coming up.
And the pressure has really kept Cal in this game outside of the first, couple drives. They've been active. They've moved Duggan off the spot. They've compressed the pocket, and TCU was 8 of 13, completing, converting 60% of their 3rd downs before that. They've been really good. A big stop there for the Cal defense.
Griffin Kell with a field goal attempt to match his jersey number. From 39 yards out, a wobbling kick, not close. That was a left hook from the start, and a silent fist pump for Justin Wilcox, whose team forces a 4th down before Kell yanks it, and he gets an earful from Gary Patterson.
Well, we know that Kell had been kind of dealing with a nagging hamstring injury dating back to camp, and Coach Patterson even told us this week that maybe we would see maybe a little bit of Harper Simmons on certain kickoff situations because of that. It makes you kind of wonder as bad of a miss that was, uncharacteristic miss there by Kell. That was part of the problem.
So Cal takes over at its own 22. With Garbers handing off to Damian Moore. Quiet first half for Moore. 7 carries, 19 yards, but here he gets 11. How does Cal turn this around offensively?
Well, I think they got to get back to a little bit more of a balanced and respectable attack in the run game.
Moore again, back-to-back runs to start the drive and consecutive first downs.
And give Bill Musgrave, offensive coordinator, some credit. And most offensive coordinators, when they only average 1.6 yards per carry in the first half, they get away from it too quickly. You got to be committed to the run, and hopefully that pays off for you here in the 3rd and later in the 4th quarter.
13 yards there for Moore's 2 longest runs of the game. Now Garbers looking to throw it. Down the field he goes. Incomplete. Target was Justin Richard Baker. And after a couple of runs, a first down throw, that's nothing. Carlos Brooks, the running back for Garbers, on a 2nd down. 12 out of 18, 239, 2 touchdowns for the 4th-year California starter. Option play, Garbers will take it himself into TCU territory, a gain of 6.
Coach Musgrave told us this week that his quarterback, Chase Garbers, great practice player, great in the meetings, has all the answers, has just wanted to see him take that next step and see that translate to on the field. So far today, you've got to be impressed, but here in the 2nd quarter, as this game gets tighter and tighter, he's going to put the ball in the right hand of his quarterback to prove that.
A deep throw on 3rd down, and that is out of bounds and incomplete. So Cal needed just 4, went right back to Baker, who does not have a catch in his career, in double coverage from Carter and Caesar.
And they try to go after C.J. Caesar, who's been a bit susceptible to giving up the deep ball. But in 3rd and 2 again, knowing that the strength of your team really is built from the inside out with your offensive line and run game, it's now the 2nd time so far here today that Bill Musgrave decides to throw the ball down the field on what you would think would be a running situation.
Sheehan's punt, fair caught at the 6 by Davis. He's been very good at hitting TCU back. 42 yards, no touchback. TCU ball in the final 3.5 of the third, up 2. Social media. To learn more about Extra Yard for Teachers, follow at CFP Extra Yard. Sean Mathis in the middle of that. Education major at TCU. Maybe a future teacher. Probably a future NFL player. Excellent defensive end. From the 6-yard line, TCU begins with a run of maybe a half a yard for Zach Evans. This was a 19-14 game of the half. TCU with the only score of the second half, an 18-yard touchdown pass from Max Duggan to Quentin Johnston. TCU team that is one spot out of the AP top 25 right now. And maybe as talented a team as there is besides Oklahoma and Texas in the Big 12. Certainly Iowa State up there as well in the top 10. But there is a lot of young talent mixed with some experience on this TCU team. Hoping it's a special year after a couple of down ones for Gary Patterson. Duggan a line drive throw to Davis of first down Frogs.
You know, it's interesting, Cal right now in their nickel package, which means they only have 5 DBs on the field. Given the fact that TCU has no tight end on the field, you would think that maybe Cal would counteract and get an extra defensive back on the field to kind of handle the pass-heavy personnel of TCU, but they're deciding to keep an extra linebacker on it right now.
How do you attack that?
Well, usually when you have an extra linebacker, you're thinking that they're going to run the ball. I think if you're going to continue to pass it, you've got to get extra DB on the field.
Running here on first down with Evans as TCU tries to keep Cal off balance. A gain of 12, another first.
Well, that's why TCU is so hard to defend, because they're good in so many different personnel packages. They're good in 10 personnel, which is 1 running back, no tight ends. They're really good in 11, which is 1 running back, 1 tight end. I mean, they can pretty much do everything in their offensive playbook in many different personnel sets. You can see Max Duggan here getting a call from the sideline, giving a signal to his boundary receiver. See if he goes to attack that.
Evans instead will run it toward the boundary. Tackle made by Scott and Roberts. Evans is going to check out of the game. Bloody nose, maybe? Not a bad job if immediately you can have people put gauze on your nose when you're hurt. Your own personal face shielders. Duggan, pump fake, deep ball, and incomplete. Threw it well over the head of Quincy Brown.
Yeah, Quincy Brown wide open, right over on the sideline on the left side of the field. I think it kind of caught Duggan by surprise. It wasn't originally where he was looking to go. I think he was looking for more of an underneath route, and he kind of just caught his other receiver wide open, tried to get it to him, but it sailed out of bounds.
Third down and 6 here for Duggan.
Let's see if Cal decides to bring some pressure. You can see both of their linebackers hovering right here over the center, trying to do a good job disguising man coverage.
Good Croto coming off the edge, and Duggan had nowhere to go with the ball. A ground ball as the pressure from Cal got to him to force a punt.
Well, the reason Duggan had to go to the outside slant route instead of the inside slant route from the slot is because of the coverage by a couple of those inside linebackers in the safety for Cal, Daniel Scott. He goes to throw the inside slant route, but they're both playing inside leverage, and by the time he resets to throw the outside slant route, Cal's defenders are able to get home.
Sandy's punt to Remigio. Over the head of Remigio, and what a bounce this is at first for TCU, but the Horned Frogs could not keep it out of the end zone. It'll be a touchback. 64-yard punt, though, so a net of 44. Still pretty good.
You can see Luke Beckett, number 93 here, able to get home almost and disrupt the quarterback. And people always talk about sacks. Sacks, and sacks are sexy. There's no doubt about it. But this is how you affect a quarterback in other ways. Making him reset, pause, go to his second read on that was the difference, potentially, in TCU staying on the field and having the punt.
Play made by a senior in his 55th career game. Got an extra year of eligibility due to COVID. Had a red shirt in there, had a medical red shirt in there, transferred to BC last year, and returned to Cal this season after he had 2 dreams. He was back playing football in a Cal uniform. Garber's chased. Got away from it, incomplete. Almost had a great play to Tonjes. Coverage by C.J. Caesar, who's been picked on a couple of times today for TCU.
Yeah, they've tried to go after Caesar, and he's done a nice job here in the second half after rebounding from giving up a couple plays in the first half. But Tonjes, big 6'5", 240-pound tight end there. He throws it up to him. This guy's a height advantage on Caesar. He's only 5'11". Caesar able to break the ball up.
Pretty small cornerback group at TCU. Flag thrown before this play got going.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 87. Offense, 5-yard penalty. Still second down.
That's the tight end for Cal, Jermaine Terry. Luke Beckett, believe it or not, was a true freshman in 2015. Remember the Warriors winning their first NBA title? That seems like a million years ago. Beckett was teammates with Jared Goff, who's been in the league since he was the #1 pick after that. Also, Uptown Funk is definitely way older than 6 years. That song's been
Uptown
playing at weddings for 52 years, and you cannot convince me otherwise.
One of the
Always
great
good,
all-time
though.
wedding songs. Come on, though. The thing you gotta love the most about this is 2015 gas was $2.43. I mean, doesn't everybody want to go back to those days?
I think I paid $3.43 yesterday, to be honest, and that was a good deal.
Oh.
I'm told it's $4.60 right now in the Bay Area. Not that our producer Tim Sullivan ever drives to work, so he doesn't have to worry about that. 3 quarters down in Fort Worth. A great game between the Pac-12 and the Big 12. TCU by 2. Cal with the ball when we return. Kevin Brown, Hudson Mason, our entire ESPN crew back with you from Fort Worth, Texas. Chase Garbers and Cal dynamic in the first half on offense. The third quarter, 6 passes, 4 yards, and a big third down for the Golden Bears.
Yeah, TCU's done a good job mixing up coverages and snaps. Here they get into empty. Let's see if they can find an accurate pass for the quarterback.
Garbers hit as he throws, and he did find an accurate pass. It's reeled in. The tight end Jake Tonjes, who was targeted earlier on this drive, reels it in for a first down, gain of 16. There's a flag as well.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 98. 15 yards will be added to the end of the run, automatic first down.
That's the senior Dylan Horton.
Yeah, it's the hands of the face of the quarterback. You know, if Horton just hits him in the chest or the sternum, that's probably not a 15-yard penalty. It wouldn't matter because Ton just made an incredible catch. The TCU defender draping all over him. But, you know, they talk about Garbers being a tough guy and his offensive line having so much respect for him. It's because of plays like that. I mean, just staring down the gun barrel when you know somebody's about to play a little chin music on you.
Garbers heaves it down the field, incomplete. Clark, who has the 2 big catches today for 54 and 68, was the target. When we spoke with Bill Musgrave earlier in the week, he thought Chase Garbers made some terrific progressions against Nevada that he couldn't have done a year ago. Back to the 3rd, 4th, 5th progression. There's been a lot more lock and load on the deep ball today. It worked in the first half, not to the same degree here in the second. Moore picks up a pass rusher, but now that pass rusher is going to get Garbers down. LaKendrick Van Zandt shrugged off the running back Moore, and he picks up a sack.
Yeah, Van Zandt is going to blitz. And he plays that safety like hybrid role where he's a safety, but he's always kind of at the line of scrimmage, it feels like. And this time, they bring him off the edge, and he gets a one-on-one pass rushing opportunity with Damian Moore, and he wins that.
What's in the playbook for 3rd and 13?
A lot, but not a whole lot. I mean, I like that they go empty here. They're going to motion the running back. Corner doesn't move with them, which tells him it's zone. Let's see if he can find his tight end across the middle.
Garbers is going to run it. Instead, there's all day across the middle. He found the soft spot in the TCU zone, Hudson, and runs for a first down.
And this is what he can do. You better account for the legs of Chase Garbers. And just when you think he's kind of a prototypical pocket quarterback, it opens up, it splits like the Red Sea, and he is absolutely athletic enough to make you pay when you don't have some underneath coverage to keep him and hold him responsible. That's a big 3rd down, and a great decision there for him, not to force anything and basically make himself the check down.
18-yard run, first down from the 27, right at the edge of field goal range. An option pitch to Remigio, and a big-time hurdle. Nico Remigio up and away over the top of TJ Carter.
Sharp play call to go speed option to the boundary, knowing that you only had one TCU defender over there to defend 2 Cal guys. You basically got to defend the quarterback and the running back on the speed option.
He got 13 yards from Remigio, but he did pay dearly for it as he hobbled off the field. So he is out of the game on this first down play from the 14. Hand off Moore. Maybe a yard, maybe 2.
Cal 1 for 3 today inside the red zone in a game that's in the 4th quarter already. It just feels like these red zone trips are going to be the difference between winning and losing. Last time Cal down here, I thought they got a little too conservative.
Again, a handoff to Moore. He breaks free for a touchdown. And Cal is back on top.
How about the physicality of the run of Damian Moore? The TCU's going to see this on tape. They had two defenders right there to make the tackle on Moore. And all of 220 pounds wasn't enough to bring him down.
First career touchdown a week ago against Nevada. His second right here, a 9-play, 80-yard drive. And the Golden Bears in the 4th quarter in Fort Worth have the lead right back. The folks that made the long trip from Berkeley are currently pretty happy they did as Moore scores to give Cal the lead.
Last week we didn't have the outcome we wanted, right?
So.
It's our chance to respond tomorrow. It's a chance to get back in the ring and fight. You know, a lot of times in life we can't choose how we get punched, but we can choose how we respond.
Well, here's the previous scoring play. 2 TCU defenders, D. Winters and Bud Clark, right there to make the play on Damian Moore, and that's just my guy being a better scholarship player than your guy right there. Incredible ability to break the tackle and a huge touchdown for Cal.
And Justin Forsett in that long lineage of great running backs at Cal. He was back up to J.J. Arrington and Marshawn Lynch before taking over. Damian Moore will make him proud. Forsett, the native of the Dallas-Fort Worth area. So now, what's the response for TCU?
Well, the response is you've got your whole playbook to operate. I mean, there's nothing off limits, and you put confidence in Max Duggan.
Start with a handoff to Evans, who is up over 140 yards now on the ground.
11 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter, and you're down one possession. There's no need to feel like you got to get all that back in one play or even one drive. There's Doug Meacham, offensive coordinator for TCU. He's been in this position before.
Evans again, a crease. Left side of that offensive line. And Brandon Coleman did not start the game at left guard, but it looks like he's played most of the game there. A first down run of 8. Duggan. Broken up. And a flag comes out on the coverage from Chigozie Anusia.
Pass interference number 7. Defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic. First down.
And they're going to get Anusia for his offhand, which was hooked around the TCU receiver. Hooked, more like clubbed, of Quentin Johnston. That was an easy one.
He didn't think it was easy.
Yeah, like basketball players, they never think you fouled him. They truly fouled him.
Couple of first downs on the drive for TCU, which is into Cal territory from the 44. J.D. Spielman in the backfield on this play, and he'll lose a yard.
Josh Drayden coming there from that nickel cornerback position. Seems like so many times today, Cal has just had the right blitz called at the right time. Right into the teeth of the run for TCU.
Duggan looking left. Comes back the other side of the field. Completes it to Johnston. First down. Inside the 20. Quentin Johnston breaking for the pylon. Touchdown TCU. As explosive as it gets. 45 yards. The Frogs back on top.
Well, and if you notice, right before the snap of the ball, Max Duggan looked over and gave a hand signal to Quentin Johnston to change his route. The corner was off. He wanted him to run basically like a semi-dig kind of curl route for that coverage. And he was able to work all the way back across the field and get to his third read in the progression, which was Johnston. And how good is Johnston after the catch?
TCU's going to try to make this a field goal game, keep the offense on to go for 2.
Now they're in
touchdowns for Johnston today.
Watch out for the legs or the QB draw, some type of QB run here with Duggan.
Little's covered up. Now Duggan's going to try to take off. He will throw it, and it is picked off in the end zone. Daniel Scott, who had the pick 6 earlier, intercepts the 2-point try. So a 1-point lead only for TCU, but a lead nonetheless. Quentin Johnston's second score of the day. The future star for TCU. The future may be now for the young Horned Frogs. Season for every field goal, an extra point made by participating universities. All-State will make a contribution to that university's general scholarship fund. Thank you, All-State. Unfortunately for All-State, they got nothing on that last drive because TCU got 6 and then 1 for 2, did not convert. So it's a 1-point lead for the Horned Frogs. Trying to send Cal to its first 0-2 start since 2001. Griffin Kells kicked it through the end zone a number of times today. He'll add to that number with a touchback here. 1-point game, under 10 to go, and Cal will have the ball. Hey, Big 12 Now on ESPN Plus is a must-have for Big 12 fans. Tonight's featured games. After this one, Baylor hosts Texas Southern, K-State, Southern Illinois, and Texas Tech against the Lumberjacks of Stephen F. Austin. Each of those games starts at 7 Eastern, 6 Central. LIU West Virginia on right now. Sign up today at ESPNplus.com/Big12Now. If you're a Big 12 fan, you got to have it. And if you're a Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, or Houston fan, you got to have it soon. Those schools admitted to the Big 12. The official announcement yesterday. They'll be joining in a couple of seasons. Right around the time, maybe a little bit earlier than Texas and Oklahoma will leave for the SEC.
If you're Cal here, Justin Wilcox, this is where you would love to have one of those 12-play, 6-minute drives that they had last week against Nevada for a touchdown.
After a run of 6 for Moore, Garber's pass complete. Colin Moore, the backup tight end, right at the line of scrimmage. A good tackle made on the play by Van Zandt. 3rd and 4 for California. This was the big news for the Big 12 this week. BYU, Independent, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF out of the American to join the conference. The presidents and the chancellors, the members, approved unanimously yesterday. Remember, Oklahoma and Texas just a couple of months ago shook up the college sports world by accepting invitations to the SEC. And even if you're not going to have Oklahoma and Texas and you lose major programs, this strikes me, Hudson, as what will be a pretty fun conference in a couple of years with some schools that have really succeeded in football the last few years.
Yeah, I think this conference has a lot to be excited about. You get a couple ranked teams and teams that have been really good as of recently. UCF the past couple years has been really good. Cincinnati ranked inside the top 10. And then you get a team with some national recognition in BYU. There's a lot to be excited about.
And you're adding a national champion in UCF. Don't forget that.
Oh, you going to go
Just
there?
ask the folks in Orlando. I'm going to go there so they don't get mad at me. 3rd down and 4. Garbers incomplete over the middle. Remigio looking for a flag. And none will come out on the coverage from Travius Hodges-Tomlinson.
That's what you want your All-American to do right there. Blanket coverage, 4th quarter, close ball game. That's what being an All-American is all about. When you get put on an island, being able to lock down one of their receivers and get your defense the ball back is what being a great All-American corner is all about. And that's why Hodges-Tomlinson is looked at as one of the best defensive backs in all the country.
There's been almost nothing in the punt return game for either team. Great show for the punters today. And another fair catch made by Davis. 51 yards from Jamison Shee and no return. Tonight, Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. Washington goes to the Big House. Michigan looks to start 2-0. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific. ABC and streaming live on the ESPN app. You think the Huskies can bounce back from that loss to Montana, or does Michigan go to 2-0?
I think Washington can absolutely bounce back. Sometimes when you lose week 1 to an inferior opponent, it puts everybody else in the program on alert. And I think Jimmy Lake and his staff have been eagerly looking forward to this ball game. And Washington absolutely will bounce back and give Michigan a game.
Duggan keeps on 1st down. We had Oregon win at Ohio State earlier today. If the Pac-12 wins at Ohio State and Michigan, I'm not sure what happens to the Alliance. I hope it makes it at least one more week.
Yeah. I don't know what we think is going to happen with the Alliance.
I don't know.
I had one coach tell me he'll be retired by the time the Alliance happens. So
I don't think that coach is retiring next week from context. Second down handoff. Evans churning those legs forward. Big game on the ground for Zach Evans, his 18th carry. He's at 163 yards and another Frog first.
It feels like so many of those yards today have come after original point of contact. He's so athletic. He's so strong in his lower body. You cannot bring him down with just one guy. And he's still not even into that 20 attempt threshold yet. As his offensive coordinator, Doug Meacham, said they wanted to get him to.
TCU over 200 yards on the ground. The Big 12's best rushing offense last year, beg your pardon. Evans again, he'll pick up some more. 19th carry of the game. Elijah Hicks the tackle. 15 yards, another first down for Zach Evans.
Yeah, and you can see here linebacker number 55 for Cal, Iosufe, right there, ready to make the play. And the elusiveness and the short burst ability of Zach Evans is just too good to bring down for one guy. He is so quick and sudden change, so powerful. Finally getting to see him do it all today.
Quarterback keeper for Duggan. Another first down. Duggan is home free into the second level and across the 20. They are gashing this California defense. 33 for Max Duggan.
Well, check out the lead block from Zach Evans. He can do it all. He's not just the guy that can impact the game with the ball in his hands. Right there, lead block for his athletic quarterback, Duggan. We know how good Duggan is with his legs. He can do the rest.
TCU coaches were raving to us about Zach Evans' ability as a blocker, as a pass protector. The Horned Frogs well over 200 yards now. That usually portends success for Gary Patterson. From the 18, another keeper for Duggan, and this time he is blown up by Cameron Good, but a flag comes out. Good's going to be hit for another personal foul.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 19, defense. That penalty will be enforced half the distance to the goal line. Automatic. First down.
Yeah, I think what they're looking at is, was it the side of the shoulder pad or a horse collar is really the back. When you bring a guy down by the back of his jersey or shoulder pad there, and I think on that play, it was enough on the back for them to justify calling it.
TCU dominating first downs, dominating time of possession, dominating rush offense, doing to Cal what Cal tries to do to everyone else. From the 9, another running play. And Duggan fooled everybody on the California defense for a touchdown, TCU.
You're going to see a great block by left tackle for TCU, Obina Eze, who's going to have the opportunity to play at the next level, but Max Duggan pulls the ball in a zone read, gets a fantastic block by a star left tackle for a touchdown.
47th career touchdown for Duggan. He's passed for 29. He's now run for 18. 81 yards in just 5 plays, over 16 yards per play with a penalty added in, and the lead is 8 for TCU. 5:47 to go in Fort Worth, and the Horned Frogs oh so close to a 2-0 start.
Take a step back to the way it was when people were crazy. Love was enough. A little more old soul, a little more lay low. Give me just a little more of your heart. I said ready, set, start. Take a step back.
Now that is a steely gaze from Gary Patterson, 21-year head football coach, budding country singer. Released 2 songs a year ago, Take a Step Back and Game On. There's going to be a party in Fort Worth tonight, but Gary will not be performing his musical talents. He told us strictly no singing during the season, but
Both
maybe you can
players gave a fair
strum.
catch signal that we're returning and caught the pass, or the kick, ball we placed at the 25-yard line. First
You know what
and 10,
impressed me the most?
California.
College football coaches are sometimes freakishly accurate about the most random things, statistics, stories from memory. Gary Patterson, that has about 70,000 Spotify streams. He's got 75,479. Like, how does he know that?
Look, if you created your own song and wrote your own song and produced it, you would know how many likes, subscribes, retweets, all of it that it's gotten as well. So
It's a very good point. I'd be on there every single second. California with the ball down by 8. And a handoff for Damian Moore on first down. D. Winters on the stop. So Chase Garber's great in the first half for Cal. A pretty slow second half. He has thrown for a couple of touchdowns. A 1-score game, need a touchdown and 2 to tie, as Cal will have to dig its way out of a hole on the road. Garber's off play action. Wobbly ball is incomplete. Target was Trayvon Clark, and it'll be a key 3rd down here for the Bears.
yeah, there's really no other way to a victory or getting Cal back in this game other than the right hand and arm of Chase Garbers. That time he had Trayvon Clark over the middle on a dig route. A bit inaccurate. A better throw surely is a completion. And here in 3rd and medium, it feels like the whole game there just hasn't been many easy completions for this quarterback on 3rd and medium to 3rd and short.
Quick throw, first down. There's an easy completion to the tight end Tonjes, 12 yards.
Yeah. He found the guy that he's felt most comfortable really throwing to all day, and I like it. Find the big body with the big catch radius at 6'5", 240.
Barber steps away from the edge pressure, heaves it into double coverage, and it's Jeremiah Hunter who came up with the ball. What a throw! And a great catch in traffic by Hunter puts Cal in the red zone.
How about the throw by Garber? Stepping up on the pocket, throwing this on the run. An even better catch by Jeremiah Hunter.
42 yards to the TCU 14. Garbers can take off. He'll run for the end zone. Sliding to the pylon. He's in. Touchdown, Cal. Absorbed the contact from Hodges Tomlinson, and he brings the Bears within 2.
Ruling on the field is a touchdown, California.
Well, they're obviously going to review this. I think he's in. But the fact that he escapes the pocket, still with the ball. See that little kind of twist of the shoulders gives the threat that he was still going to throw the ball, which slows up the TCU secondary.
The touchdown is under further review.
For just a second. And I think that's a touchdown.
I think the only question is where's the ball when his knee hits the pylon?
Did the ball cross the plane of the goal line as he hits the pylon?
Hudson, how many quarterbacks make that kind of effort going shoulder to shoulder right there at the goal line?
Well, again, I go back to his toughness. I mean, his coaches and his teammates rave about his toughness. You got to be tough to play the quarterback position, and no shying away there. Down a score. But you're looking at where's his left toe, where's the ball, and the ball position in relation to the pylon. But as you can see,
it's a little short.
His left toe on the chalk. Ball isn't crossing the threshold of the end zone when he hits the pylon. So I think it's going to be reversed as well.
So if this is 1st and goal at the 1, do you just straight ahead run it with Moore into the middle, or you try to get fancy here?
No, do not get fancy. You got 4 attempts. you'll have 4 attempts to run it 1 yard. I'm hoping Cal can get enough push within 4 attempts.
Again, Gene Simcoe, our replay officials, taking a look. Want to make sure you also get the clock right if that needs to change. And we'll hear from our referee, Michael Vandervelde.
After reviewing the play, the runner is short of the goal line. The ball will be placed at the half-yard line. It's 1st and goal, California.
So again, it's where the ball is as the left toe hits the line inside the 1 at the half-yard line, and a 1st and goal for Cal. Moore is the running back, and a fullback in front of him. Garbers will pitch it to Moore, and he scores for his 2nd touchdown. So Cal gets within 2 officially this time, and the Golden Bears will try to tie it up.
It's a big-time drive and a big-time answer by your offense, and Chase Garbers there. It's what big-time quarterbacks are made of. When your quarterback needs a game-winning, when your team needs a game-winning drive, and you got a 4th-year senior who's played a lot of ball, he puts them on his shoulder and carries them. Now a 2-point drive, and the ball in the right half. Remember, they ran a 2-point play earlier in the game, and they did a little rollout action to the boundary. I didn't think it was a great play. They didn't even throw it to the end zone. They need to make sure that the ball is thrown into the end zone.
It's a give to Moore, pushing forward. Waiting for an official signal. Cal says they got it. TCU doesn't think so. Looks like the ball is going to be spotted a little bit short.
The field is that the runner fumbled the ball forward into the end zone. By rule, that ball is put back to the ball before the goal line. Extra point is no good.
So TCU holds on the lost fumble by Moore on a 2-point try. The Horned Frogs will maintain the lead. They've gone for 2 twice in this game, Cal, and they have come up empty both times. Plus, there was that mishandled snap on an extra point, and out of 5 touchdowns, Cal has only 32 points. Here's the score for Moore that makes it a 2-point game. It remains that way with 4:09 to play. Bit of fumble, but Moore appeared to be down before he got to the end zone right there. You saw him reach across at the end, but he was down. Either way, Cal does not get the 2-point try. 4:09 to go, all 3 timeouts. The Golden Bears kick it deep, and let's take one more look.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't a fumble into the end zone. It just looks like Moore's knee was down as he stretches the ball across the plane. And as you said, either way, it's probably down right there. Either way, it wouldn't have counted and they wouldn't have scored. So same result, just different ruling.
And credit to O'Shawn Mathis for making that play, preserving the lead for TCU after a really strong California drive.
TCU has called a timeout, 30 seconds in length.
Oh, that's interesting. Right out of the kick, TCU has to burn its first timeout.
Gary Patterson not going to be happy about that. You want to preserve every timeout possible here, not knowing how you're going to have to utilize them here in the last 4 minutes.
Week 1 NFL Sunday kicks off tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 Central, 7 Pacific, with a countdown crew on ESPN and the app. Patrick Mahomes and Alex Smith go one-on-one with Alex Smith, now part of our team. Plus, you got mossed, and an inside look at what could be Aaron Rodgers' last dance in Green Bay. Sunday NFL Countdown on ESPN tomorrow morning as Week 1 gets fully underway. Well, 4-minute offense time for TCU, up by 2 with the ball. Duggan will keep it to start the drive. TCU has run for 260 yards and counting now on the game.
Yeah, you've got 36 combined carries between Zach Evans and Max Duggan. I think that's where you go back to. That's the world you live in right now if you're Doug Meacham. Don't put the ball in harm's way. And Zach Evans has been impossible to stop today, especially when they kind of space you out here formationally and they get some numbers in the box that they really like.
The play clock inside 5, and Duggan will run it again. Evans a lead blocker. When do you start calling timeouts if you're Cal?
Not yet. I think it's still too early to burn some timeouts.
Well, let's see. Justin Wilcox is going to burn one. That's on me for the setup there, Mace. That's on me for the setup.
Well, look, that's just my personal opinion. It doesn't.
Has called their first charge timeout of the second half. 30 seconds in length. Game clock operator, please reset the game clock to 3 minutes, 23 seconds. 3 minutes, 23 seconds.
I personally would have waited one more down, because if you get the stop, then you burn it, and they're punting. If they get the first down, the clock's going to stop for just a bit, but you still have 3 timeouts with the new set it down, so you're still alive. So, you know, TCU, I'm expecting here to probably run the ball again. Maybe they'll get the ball out on the perimeter like they've done the past couple times, but I mean, I'd be surprised if Duggan doesn't keep the ball here and you utilize an extra blocker in the run game with Zach Evans.
Duggan has really picked it up in the second half. He's run for 65, and that's including sack yardage lost. TCU's run for 266, would be 298 if you took away the sacks. So 3rd and 4, Frogs need the 35. Play clock at 2. Duggan got it off in time. He's going to throw it and completing for a first down. How about that? A 3rd down strike to Tay Barber for 13.
What a gutsy call on 3rd and 4. Cal is bringing heat from everywhere. Duggan knows that he's got man across the board, outside leverage over his slot receiver, and he just finds the perfect place to go. Watch the pass protection here by Zach Evans. I mean, you're talking about being a complete back, an all-around player, sticking your nose in there and giving your quarterback a little extra time to deliver on a huge 3rd down.
Now Evans on a run, got 2. And let's see if Cal uses one of those remaining 2 timeouts. They will.
California has called their second charge timeout of the half. 30 seconds in length. Game clock operator, please reset the game clock to 2 minutes, 38 seconds. 2 minutes, 38 seconds.
Well, this has been the anti-Cheez-It Bowl. 10-7 in overtime 3 years ago. Rather pointsy today between two teams known for their great defenses. And those of you waiting for Appalachian State, Miami, Florida, that game is coming up right after this here on ESPNU. Kickoff just a few minutes away between the Canes and the Mountaineers.
You always find out what play callers are made of in tight situations and tight scenarios. And everybody can run the ball or throw the ball in the first and second quarter and be aggressive. But how about, again, that 3rd down play call, the confidence to put the ball in the right hand of Max Duggan when you needed it the most.
Doug Meacham will dial up a run play for Evans on 2nd down and 8. 1 timeout left for Cal. And they will use it here.
California has called their 3rd and final charge timeout of the second half.
Well, remember, Cal has scored 5 touchdowns today. Usually that means 35 points. They're at 32 because they've missed on 3 conversions. And remember, this early in the game, first drive of the game, they failed on a 4th down and 2. And then this after the first touchdown.
Yeah, the missed extra point or the fumbled missed extra point put them in a non-ideal situation. This was the first two-point conversion that they went for that I thought they should have kicked the field goal, and this was the latest two-point conversion. TCU did a good job, and this is what the game has come down to. I still go back to that decision to go for two earlier in the game by Cal. If you would have kicked the field goal, and they did, remember, they kicked it, and then a flag was thrown, and then they decided to go for two. Right. If you kick that field goal, then on the last two-point conversion, you could have just kicked the field goal, and the game would be tied. So I thought they started to chase points a little too early.
Well, Gary Patterson's certainly thrilled about this. He's had to burn 2 timeouts, one out of a kickoff, and then one in back of another timeout on this drive. So if TCU's in a position where it needs to go down the field and score late, those 2 timeouts could come back to bite them. But right now it's all about a 3rd down and 6 for the Horned Frogs. What do you expect to see with Cal out of timeouts?
A heavy blitz. You got to blitz like they're going to run the ball, like it's going to be some type of quarterback design run, some type of edge pressure, and you got to play man across the board. And if I'm Cal, I'm walking more up on these receivers and trying to disrupt them off the line of scrimmage. Too soft a cushion.
One play for Duggan to the 50. Duggan pushing, lunging. He looks like he's got the first down. Wait for the official signal from Michael Vandeveld. TCU's giving the unofficial signal, and there it is. First down run for Duggan. He got every single yard he needed on a 3rd and 6.
And it was the second little extra effort as the Cal defenders kind of got close to him. Duggan, all of 215 pounds, uses the weight to his advantage. It looked like he was going to be a yard or 2 short. He just kept driving his legs. May end up being the difference in TCU winning.
All you have to do here is not fumble the ball. And Evans will not. Under 2 minutes on a first down carry. App State, Miami starting on ESPN News. We will get you to that game as soon as this one is over. The Hurricanes trying to rebound from that opening blowout to Alabama. TCU looking to put finishing touches on a 2-0 start. Justin Wilcox's team with some non-conference wins on the road in 2017 and 18 and 19 at North Carolina, at BYU, at Ole Miss. They've succeeded against big schools on the road before the non-conference, but that is not going to be the case today in Fort Worth. Time now for the AT&T 5G best moment from today. It comes from Max Duggan.
Max Duggan, super athletic, multi-dimensional, the best running quarterback in the Big 12. And the left side of the line, about 6'8", 340-pound left tackle right here. Eze, not only blocking down, but athletic enough to get out there and take 2 with him. TCU gets away with a win.
That's the final snap. A couple of 2-point conversions stopped. One late in the 4th quarter. And the Horned Frogs of TCU are 2-0 in 2021. 34-32 in a hard-fought battle with Justin Wilcox's California Golden Bears, who are 0-2 for the first time since 2001. A great win, Hudson, for TCU at home.
Fantastic win for TCU. They started off slow. Even the pick 6 in the first half. Give credit to how Duggan responded. Love the moxie and the poise that he showed. And Gary Patterson's probably playing a little music, victory music tonight.
Gary Patterson, the Frogs 2-0. Let's send you to App State, Miami now on ESPNU after 34-32 TCU win at Fort Worth.
He's going to start in the flat to Malik Williams, one of the super senior receivers. And it's going to be a short pickup as we welcome